Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to the class. Today, we are going to discuss regarding multi-level queue scheduling and multi-level feedback queue scheduling. Fine. So, in the previous classes, we have seen different scheduling algorithms. Like in the last session, we have seen regarding like priority scheduling algorithm, and in the before that, we have seen regarding the round robin scheduling algorithm. So, we have seen all the CPU scheduling algorithms, right? So, today we'll be going to have the last scheduling algorithm, which is nothing but a multi-level scheduling algorithm or multi-level feedback queue scheduling algorithm. So what is the basic funda of this multi-level queue scheduling algorithm is like as the name itself indicates, multi-level queue. So when we are going to see in the previous classes, what we have seen is we make use of a ready queue, right? We are going to have a ready queue. In that ready queue, we are going to suppose here ready queue is there, and in this ready queue, we are going to place all the processes P1, P2, P3, all the processes we are going to keep. And from the ready queue, we have prepared that chart. Fine. So we are used to maintain only a single queue for all the processes. So how much is it fair to make the processes all reside in a single queue? So that came an intention to overcome this and to make a new queue. New idea behind this is the multi-level queue. So what is the basic funda of this multi-level queue is like instead of making a single queue, like we are going to make a different queues. We are going to make a different queues so that each queue is going to have, suppose first one is the system queue. System queue is nothing but like this is a system queue or a system processes we are going to make in the first priority. Why? Because system processes are nothing but like when the CPU is executing a task, suppose CPU is executing some process P8, but if a process P1 came, or sorry, if an interrupt came to the CPU, and this what this interrupt told is like it is used to say that process P1 to execute. So what the CPU will do is it terminates the process P8 and it will current now executes the process P1. So we are going a much importance to the interrupt. So those kind of processes all we are going to keep in the system processes. System processes are going to have the highest priority. So instead of like what is the basic fundamental of this multi-level queue is nothing but instead of maintaining a single queue, that is ready queue. In the previous all the algorithms we have make use of ready queues only, but instead of maintaining only a ready queue, that ready queue has been divided into different queues. So based on the priority, those queues have been scheduled. Based on the priority, those queues have been designed. Here, where each class has its own scheduling needs. Suppose this is the example of multi-queue. Previously, we used to have the ready queue. So in this ready queue, we used to keep all the processes irrespective of their needs and irrespective of their task. We'll be going to keep all the processes in the ready queue only. But we'll be going to face a problems like each process has its own needs and own necessity. But when we are going to place in the ready queue, so all process have to follow one scheduling algorithm, right? So when we are going, it is depends on the implementer who is going to implement this one. Like what are all the process we are having in the ready queue? It may be a priority, or it may be a round robin, it may be a SJF, or it may be a FCFS. Either one of the scheduling algorithm we need to implement on the processes which are there in the queue. But what the thing is, each process has its own facilities, each process has its own needs. So based on the needs, what we have done is we have been divided this ready queue into number of queues. So q1, q2 and q3. First like you will be going to have many queues. For suppose for example, Here this ready queue has been scheduled into three queues, Q1, Q2 and Q3. In the Q1, I'm placing all the system processes. System processes are nothing but interrupts. System processes are nothing but interrupts. Why? Because when a CPU is executing a process P5, suppose if an interrupt came, in the sense what the CPU will do, it will stop executing the process P5, and this interrupt is P2. It will start executing the P2 process. That means it is giving highest priority to the interrupts. So all the highest priority tasks we are going to keep in the system processes. This system process is having the highest priority. So it was placed in the starting. And next one is the interactive processes. What are interactive processes? In the sense, like suppose when we are going to do any program, so we then and there only we have to give the values. So interactively we are going to give the values, and then the program is going to take the values and it is going to do the things. So those kind of tasks, all tasks are we are going to keep in the interactive processes. And the third one is batch processes. Batch processes are the processes which are run in the background. Like these system processes, we call it as an foreground processes, and this batch processes we call it as an background processes. So why we are calling it as background processes? In the sense, for a batch process, if you initiated this batch one, like it will be going to do, we need not stay here for the result. Later on we can come and we can take the result. So that is the batch process. So here this ready queue has been divided into Q1, Q2 and Q3. Q1 which is having the first highest priority, Q2 which is having the second highest priority, and Q3 which is having the third highest priority. That is the multi-level queue scheduling. So these two, like foreground processes, we call it as an interactive processes, and background processes we call it as an batch processes. Interactive processes are running in the foreground, like interactively by taking the user values, the system is going to do the task. So those are interactive processes. Background processes, in the sense, we need not stay over there. We just going to give the task and we can leave. Like when the job completes, we can then come and we can pick the result. So those are the batch processes, which we call it as a background processes. For this kind of situation, multi-level queue scheduling is used. So like previously, what we'll be going to do, the foreground process as well as the background process, we are going to keep in the ready queue combinedly. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to create a separate queues for the foreground processes and separate queues for the background processes. Here the main funda is, here the ready queue is divided into separate queues for each class of processes. So how many class of processes are there? The ready queue is going to be divided into those many. So for example, let us take three different types, like this example. So system process is one thing, interactive process is second one, and the batch process is the third one. So these are the three different queues that are going to be. All three different types of process has their own queue. So here we need to know, we need to keep in mind the 5 or 6 important points. First one is, here the first and the foremost important thing is, each queue has its own scheduling algorithm. So each queue has own scheduling algorithm. So this is the first point. That means, here previously when we are going to do in the ready queue, here like for example, see here, so previously this is the ready queue. So this ready queue will be going to keep process P1, process P2, process P3 and so on. So this is the ready queue. Fine. So here we have to implement only one algorithm at a time, one scheduling algorithm. We can't implement two algorithms at a time, only one scheduling algorithm we need to implement. Fine. So instead of doing this, so based on our condition, what we have done is we have divided that ready queue into number of queues. Fine, this is q1, this is q2, and this is q3. So this q1, this is q2, and this is q3. So here we used to apply some FCFS in the sense, so all P1 process, P2 process, P3 process, all will follow the FCFS scheduling algorithm only. Here the first important point is each queue can maintain, each queue can follow different algorithms. So that is the one of the major important thing we have to know. Here what this one is, here are the system processes, here are the interactive processes, and here are the batch processes. Fine. So system process is having the first priority, this interactive process is having the second priority, and this batch process is having the third priority. Fine. Here what I have said is each process or each queue can have its own scheduling algorithm. So here this first system process can go for round robin scheduling, and second queue can go for shortest job scheduling, and third queue can go for FCFS, batch process can go for FCFS scheduling. So based on the needs of the processes, so each queue can have its own scheduling algorithms. So this is the first important point to be noted down. And the second one is uh, this these all three queues follow the priority. All three queues follow the priority. These three queues follow priority. Follow priority in the sense among these three queues, which is having highest priority, that is going to be placed first, which is having the second highest priority, that is going to be placed second, which is having the third priority, that is going to be placed third. So all the queues which we are going to arrange, those queues are also going to be arranged in a priority based manner. And the next third important is suppose if suppose if a process has come into execution, suppose when we are going to execute a process, so that process is going to have, so one thing I have to say is like the third important concept over here is, suppose if a process has entered into the queue, suppose here if a process, that means here P1 process has entered. So if P1 process has entered in Q1, in the sense it has to remain in the Q1 only until it completed its task. So that is the third important point to be remembered. So if any process entered, if any process entered in any queue, not only in Q1 or not only in Q2, in any queue, it has to it has to stay until it exit, until it exit out of that queue. So this is the third point to be noted. Fine. Each queue is going to have different scheduling algorithm. Second one is all the three queues will be having the will arrange in a priority. So here we will be going to have highest to lowest priority. So highest is this one, lowest is this one. This highest to lowest priority we used to have. And if a process, we are going to keep any process in any queue, in the sense that process should remain in that queue until it is going to exit out of the system. So that is the thing we will be going to have when we are going to see the multi-process queue scheduling. And next one, the fourth process is, suppose here the fourth point what I can say you is, for suppose here in the Q1 process P1 process P2, process P3 and process P4 are there. And in Q2, process P5 and process P6 are there. And process P7 are there. Here Q3, process P8 and process P9 are there. Fine. So when now here when we are going to discuss now, the CPU is executing currently the process P7. Fine. CPU is currently executing process P7. For suppose all these processes in the queue has completed. Fine. And one more point to be noted is here we are going to have different queues. So shifting, we can shift from one queue to another queue. When we can shift from one queue to another queue, in the sense in Q1, P1, P2, P3, P4 processes are there. If all the processes are completed, if all the processes are completed, then only we can shift from Q1 to Q2. In Q2, we are having P5 and P6 processes. If P5 and P6 process are completed, then only we can shift from Q2 to Q3. So, if in Q1, if P3 process has not completed, you cannot shift from Q1 to Q2. So, that is the thing you have to make a note of it. Like if you want to go to any other second queue, if we want to go to second queue, first queue should complete. So all processes in first queue should complete, then only you can allow it to the second queue. If all process in second queue completed, then only you are going to allow to the third queue. This is the point to be noted. So until unless the processes are not completed, you are not going to shift from one queue to the another queue. So that is the thing you have to note it down. So suppose here when CPU is executing a P9 process, when CPU is executing P9 process, when CPU will execute P9 process, if all the processes in Q1 completes, if all the processes in Q2 completes, then only the CPU will execute the Q3 processes. Now, when CPU is executing the P9 process, it is executing the P9 process. In the middle, some process that is, for example, some process which is P10 has admitted in the Q2. P10 process has admitted in the Q2. So, P10 process has admitted in the Q2 when P9 is executing. What the CPU will do is, it will stop executing this, P9 process, and the CPU will be allocated to P10 process. Why? Because this P10 process has joined in the Q2. Why? Because Q2 is having the highest priority than Q3. So when CPU is executing P9 process in Q3, then P10 process has admitted in Q2, then CPU will stop executing this P9 process and will start executing this P10 process. Why? Because P10 process is having the highest priority than the P9 process. So this is how you will be going to have the multi-level queue scheduling. What is the basic and the major funda of this multi-level queue scheduling is, here the ready queue has been divided into number of queues based on the task which we want to do. So when we are going to do with the queues, what you have to remember is, each and every queue can implement its own scheduling algorithm. That is the first point. And next point is, how many queues are there? All the queues are arranged in higher order to lower order. That is the second point. And the third point is, if any process is entered in any queue, that process should fix in that queue only. If a process, for example, if process P10 has entered in a Q2, in the sense it has to be in Q2 only until unless it completes its task and it has to exit out. There is no possibility of shifting from Q2 to Q3 or Q3 to Q1. So that shifting of queues is not possible, which is the drawback. Fine, these are the things you have to remember when you are going to do with the multi-level scheduling. So when we are going to see this multi-level scheduling, what is the drawback you are going to face is, here is the drawback you will be going to face. So what is the drawback in the sense, suppose as I have said you now, here P9 is executing by the CPU, then this is in Q3, then P10 came which is in Q2, then what is the CPU is shifted from P9 to P10. Fine, now CPU is shifting from P9 to P10. When CPU is executing Q2 process, another process P11 came which is in Q1. Now, what is this CPU will do? CPU will stop executing this P10 and it will comes to the P11 process. Now, what about this process P9? It is keep on waiting. Like keep on waiting condition, we call it as an starvation. Keep on waiting we condition, we call it as a starvation. So that is the problem you will be going to face in the multi-level queue scheduling. So the processes are going to be suffering from starvation. Here if another process came, so if another process, suppose P12 process came, P12 process which is in Q2, then instead of going after completing this Q1, instead of going to Q3, again it is going to shifting from Q2. Then what about this P9 process? It is keep on waiting. That keep on waiting condition, we call it as indefinite blocking. Indefinite blocking, or we can call it as starvation. Indefinite blocking, or we can call it as starvation. So this is the drawback you will be going to face in the multi-level queue scheduling. So in order to overcome this drawback, what we are going for is, like we have been shifting from multi-level queue scheduling to multi-level queue feedback scheduling. So that is how, why we have gone for multi-level queue scheduling to multi-level feedback scheduling. Here, suppose if a process P6 as admitted in Q2, in the sense this P6 should be there in the Q2 only. It cannot shift from Q2 to Q1, or it cannot shift from Q2 to Q3. It has to be there only. So as I have said you before, like this is the problem you will be going to face in the multi-level queue scheduling. But the advantages is, here as the major advantage what we are going to find is, here the ready queue is divided into number of queues. Ready queue is divided into number of queues. This is Q1, this is Q2, Q3, Q4 and Q5. And another main advantage is, each queue can follow its own scheduling algorithm. It can follow round robin, it can follow SJF, it can follow SRTF, it can follow FCFS, it can follow RR. Like each queue can follow its own scheduling algorithm. So that is the major advantage of multi-level queue scheduling. Then the disadvantage is, it is going to face the problem of starvation. Starvation is keep on waiting. Keep on waiting condition, we call it as an starvation. So these are the advantages of disadvantages of multi-level queue scheduling. So in order to overcome that disadvantage of starvation, we have gone for multi-level feedback scheduling. So in multi-level feedback scheduling, like here the main advantage of multi-level feedback scheduling is, it allows a process to move between the queues. That is the major important point to be noted in multi-level feedback scheduling. This, the process are separated with different CPU burst times. Here the processes is going to have different CPU burst times. If a process uses too much of CPU, then it will be moved from lowest priority to the highest priority. If if the process in the highest priority can be moved to the lowest priority, that flexibility of moving from one queue to the another queue is going to be have in the multi-level feedback queue scheduling. Similarly, the process which is going to wait for the long time in this in a lower priority queue can be moved to the higher priority queue. So when the lower priority queue process is moved to a higher priority queue process, ultimately we will be overcome the problem of starvation. So how we are going to overcome, in the sense, by making the concept of aging in the sense, as we have discussed in the previous scheduling algorithms, we will be going to reduce the burst time by one or two or three based on the implementer. We are going to reduce the burst time of the process by some time limit, so that the process after some time it is going to have the highest priority. That is called the aging. So when we are going to find the problem of starvation can be overcome by the concept of aging. So that is how you will be going to have in the uh, feedback queue scheduling. Here the idea is to separate the process with CPU burst times. So based on the CPU burst times, we will be going to have separate the process. If a process uses too much CPU time, if a process uses too much CPU time, it will be moved to a lower priority. Similarly, a process that waits too long in a lower priority will be moved to the higher priority. This form, the aging prevents the starvation. This is the basic funda of the multi-level feedback queue scheduling. Suppose here we'll be going to have a time quantum. Fine. Here we'll be going to have the time quantum. Suppose if a process P1 has admitted, P1 has admitted, what is this burst time? Suppose its burst time is 20. Fine. P1 process has admitted and its burst time is 20. Now this P1 process will be entering into this queue. Here what is the time quantum? Time quantum means, we have seen in the round robin time slice, all the processes has to execute for the time slice only. Here P1 process needs 20 milliseconds of time, but here the time quantum is 8 milliseconds. Now here now the P1 process is executing here. Next P1 process executes 8 milliseconds of time. So if it executes 8 milliseconds means only 12 milliseconds will be remaining. So P1 with 12 milliseconds will be going to give as the input of second one, P1 with 12 milliseconds. Fine. Now P1 will come and execute here. P1 is equals to 12 milliseconds. But here the time quantum is 16 milliseconds. So P1 can complete its 12 milliseconds and it can exit out of this second queue. Fine. And next, suppose P2 is there. So P2 is having some 7 milliseconds. So P2, after completing of P1, next P2 will come. P2 is having 7 milliseconds, but the time quantum is 8 milliseconds. So P2 can complete its execution and exit out from here. Suppose P3 came. It is going to have 30 milliseconds of burst time. 30 milliseconds of burst time in the sense, it will admit in here. P3 is equals to 30. Fine. So after completing of this, like P3 time quantum will be 22. Why? Because it completed 8 milliseconds over here. So here is 22. Fine. So when it is when it is enters into this here, it will be left with P2 will be 6. Why? Because 16 minutes it has completed over here. So P2 is left with 6, P3 is left with 6 milliseconds. That 6 milliseconds will be going to give to P3 is equal 6 milliseconds. So here we will be going to do that 6 milliseconds first come first serve, which is coming, that is going to be exited. So P3 will be exiting here. like this. If you are going to have different queues, here the main thing is uh, any process any process can move from any process can move from one queue to another queue, one queue to another queue. Suppose here uh, this queue is having the highest priority, this queue is having the second highest priority. Suppose a process is admitted here, X process is admitted here, but CPU is executing only these processes, P1 processes. What it is going to do, we can move this X process into first process, so that the CPU will execute this X process and it will be exited out of the system. This is how the multi-level feedback queue scheduling is going to be working. Fine. The advantage is scheduling overhead is going to be less. Why? Because any process can move from any queue to another queue, thus allow aging and no starvation. No starvation will be there and no aging will be there. But it is not flexible, it requires some means of selecting values of the parameters to define the best scheduler. Thus it is the most complex thing. Why? Because everything is going to be done by the implementer only. So it is in the hands of the implementer to choose a best practice for the processes, which practice is going to be better for which process. That everything has to be taken care by this implementer only. In this way you will be going to have multi-level queue scheduling and multi-level feedback queue scheduling. So the points to be remembered in multi-level queue scheduling is, in multi-level queue scheduling, here all the processes are going to be dumped in the ready queue previously. But in multi-level queue scheduling, as the name itself indicates, multiple queues we are going to maintain, and those queues are going to be arranged in a priority wise. If any process entered in any queue, in the sense it has to be fixed in that queue until unless it is exit out of that system or any context switch has been done. So that is the major drawback. There is no flexibility of moving a process from lower priority to higher priority or higher priority to lower priority. So based on that concept, what we have done is we have gone for multi-level feedback queue scheduling. The flexibility of feedback queue scheduling is, like in the feedback queue scheduling, we'll be going to have an flexibility of moving the processes with the lowest priority to the highest priority and highest priority to the lowest priority. So that is the major funda or major difference between the multi-level queue scheduling and the multi-level feedback queue scheduling. With this, all scheduling algorithms we have seen. That's all for the class, and I'll be catching you tomorrow for the next class. Thank you all students. Have a great day.